Okay, welcome to the AWS info session. We're putting this together to just spread awareness, let students know about the different types of scholarships that are out there, where to apply, and we want to give you information that's going to help you to have the best chance of being awarded a scholarship. So I'm trying to give you a leg up on the competition. Um, Down at the bottom there is the web address where you'll go to apply for all national scholarships, www.aws.org/careers/resources/students/scholarships. That's where you'll go to apply. That's the portal. All the information in these slides, except for the rubric, was taken from the website there. There's very good information about the scholarships, and I've just kind of taken that, reformatted it, and put it into this presentation. We'll go ahead and introduce ourselves.
Question, Ryan, back up.
Okay.
The Puget Sound Olympic scholarship applications do not go through that website.
They do not. At the end, I do have links for our section. I'll give them the links to our website, our email address, and also our
Okay,
Facebook page.
so you used the word all.
Oh, okay. So there are scholarships available on our section website as well. And those are you can apply, you download an application right through the website. So who are we? My name is Ryan McGuire. This is my first year as chair for the Puget Sound section of the American Welding Society. I was a former student at Ohio State University studying welding engineering. Graduated in 2020, and during that time, I was awarded AWS section and district scholarships, including the Jerry Hope Scholarship. So I have some advice. This would be my advice for students who are applying for scholarships. First thing I'd say is start with an outline. It's a great way to get all your ideas down, get everything on paper. And once you kind of have those ideas, it helps with the having the outline to restructure it and kind of get it where you want it. It's a lot easier to refine and make changes when you're working with an outline. And it really helps you to have a plan, for that paper. And it's just a lot easier to work with. And make your personal statement, make it about welding. So like all the stories you tell, um, this is a welding scholarship after all. So we're looking for people who are passionate about welding. And if you can tell your story and why you're passionate about welding, you'll have a really good chance of doing well.
Good deal. Thank you, Ryan.
Yep.
Let me add one thing.
Yes, sir.
If you're asking for $1,000 and you spend less than an hour on your application, you're asking for $1,000 an hour. If you want $1,000 and you don't spend 3, 4, 5 hours to make this something, it's still probably the highest fee you will ever bill for. There's a lot of money here. It
Hmm.
takes effort, and if you're not going to give the effort, you're not going to get the scholarship.
Great point. Great point. Yeah, really, the selection committee goes beyond just Ryan and me. We this goes district wide. The section scholarships, we have a group that's been doing this for a very long time. Um, the requirements are fairly stringent, but like Steve Pollard said, it really just takes some intent and time to build a good application. It's worth going through. Quick introduction. My name is Dan Stinson. This is my first year as the secretary of the Puget Sound Olympic section. Happy to be helping out. I'm a welding engineering technology graduate from Ferris State University. Graduated back in 2013. And when I was a student there, I applied for section and district scholarships through the AWS and awarded some. It was a huge help paying for schooling. Um, Separate from AWS, but James F. Lincoln Foundation also has some scholarships and awards for students who apply and submit kind of technical projects as a write-up with, blueprints and explanation of the work you did. So there's some additional money there. But really, we're just focusing on the AWS stuff here tonight. Um, my advice for students applying, be genuine, be yourself, be honest. Um, Take pride in what you're doing, and just be true to yourself and be true to us. We want to understand your character and your involvement in welding and how you're going to stay in the field. So my advice on your personal statement, tell us what you like about welding. You're new to it. At some point in your education career, you're kind of finding different areas of welding that you enjoy, whether it's a process or certain type of fabrication. Tell us a little bit about that, and also be thinking ahead about life after school. Um, Careers, jobs change. I've been in many different fields. I know Steve, Ryan, all of us on this board have been in many different fields throughout our careers. But what are your 3 or 5 year goals after you get out of school? We want to make sure that we're going to be awarding money to people who are going to stay within the welding industry because we always need it to continue to grow.
So people who qualify for these scholarships are students who are studying welding, basically. So either you're in a welding program or you're in a program with 50% or more coursework in welding. There's several different scholarships that you can apply for. There's national scholarships. Those are for students pursuing a bachelor's degree or associate's degree in welding or welding related discipline. We have district scholarships. Those are for students pursuing a degree or certificate in a welding or welding related program. And there's the section and district name scholarships. That's like the Jerry Hope Scholarship, many AWS scholarships funded by local members, companies, and donors designated for students in the section. Puget Sound section, yeah, we have the Jerry Hope Scholarship and
Chuck Daly.
Chuck Daly. That's what I was trying to think of. Then there's also welder training. So if you're going like for a certificate or a program in less than 2 years or at a trade school or community college, there's also scholarships for those.
We're not going to drain this slide, but just at a high level, the scholarships, like Ryan said, are applicable to welding training and welding schooling. Um, the biggest target is the community college levels, especially for the um, section level. So your welding technology, associates, and applied science. Um, and then if you're going after like welding engineering technology. But keep in mind, these scholarships can be applied to, say, someone in the mechanical engineering field if they're focusing on welding as a main course of study.
So when you do go and apply, there's a few things that you're going to need to collect or produce. The application, that's just general information, what school you're at, what program or degree are you pursuing, your GPA. Um, doesn't take too long. Personal statement, there's 3 questions, and we're going to go over that in much more depth later, but there's one 500-word maximum and two 250-word essays. These are maximum word counts, so you have to be under that. Transcripts. I always had to do official transcripts, so you might have to have those mailed to you. It's not something that you can just print online. At least that's how it was when I was going. Cost summary. You can get those online, and that's just kind of a breakdown of what your program is expected to cost. Should be on your school's website. 2 letters of recommendation. Those are highly recommended. You don't need them for every scholarship, but you will earn more points, and it can only help you in the evaluation process. And the last thing, for some national scholarships, you'll be required to um, provide your student aid report. You'll have to file with FAFSA to get that, and that's pretty much it.
Ryan, I would suggest that the letters of recommendation,
Hmm.
my opinion, are key. If you want money from me and you aren't willing to ask somebody to write a letter on your behalf, you're not going to get any of my money.
Okay.
Simply stated. And if it's boilerplate, I've read an awful lot of boilerplate. But if
What's
you've got
boilerplate?
boilerplate is when your welding instructor uses the same form letter for 22 different people, they
Hmm.
only change your name. This is personal stuff. You're trying to convince somebody to give you money. And those letters of recommendation are one of the key parts of getting someone to look at your application.
So there are a few different ways to apply for AWS scholarships depending on what you're going after. Like we had said in the beginning, there's kind of a split between the national and district, and that's through the AWS.org website. And then our section scholarships are applied for through our AWS section website, and we'll share that info later. Um, but in regards to applying on the AWS.org website, um, they have a portal set up again through this link that you apply for, and when you input your academic information, that profile is going to match you up or align you with the scholarships that you're applicable to apply for. So it's a pretty easy system to navigate. It just requires time to go through it and input your info. But the AWS has a strong history of academic support. Every year, we're giving away $1 million in scholarship funds. And timing is of the essence because we're closing in on the March 1st deadline. And that deadline stays every year, year after year. And the funds get awarded for the next academic year.
So AWS membership, it is required for some scholarships, but not all. Um, Students get a free AWS membership, and there's a lot of benefits to being an AWS member. After I graduated school, I got my CWI, and just that exam alone, I took the class and the exam. I ended up saving over $200 just because I was a member. So if you are a student, I highly recommend signing up. It's free. You just go, you get a student membership at my.aws.org, and you will get more points on your application just for being a member, no matter what scholarship you're applying for. And there's other benefits as well.
Yep. Just to highlight that real quick. So again, membership's free for students. It gives you a leg up on the scholarship applications. And really, while it's free, it's a great thing to have. Um, Probably one of the biggest benefits is access to the welding journal and inspection trends. Just a monthly, thin little magazine that is chock full of great welding industry knowledge and resources, technical articles like research articles. There's often some kind of Q&A articles on, say, I'm having some difficulty with a stainless weldment, based on this application, what filler metal should we be using or something like that. It kind of covers the gamut. And also at a high level, they're going through kind of trends in the welding industry, um, things to be aware of. It's just a great publication to have, and you can get it either through your email if you want a digital copy, but it's still in hard print, so you can get it mailed to you every month. Great thing to have as a student. I've got a huge stack of them saved for referencing on various topics. Like Ryan mentioned, member discounts is huge. If you stay in this professional field and end up having to buy code books or pursue additional training through the AWS, you get huge discounts. I keep my membership active through work because I'm buying a couple code books a year as we either revise codes every couple of years or as we're taking on new projects and I have to reference a different code that we don't have. It it pays for itself just in the discounts alone. You also get access to the member network. So there's a few different things there, like the Jobs and Welding portal. It's a great way to connect with other welding professionals. Um, and then obviously we want to try and draw more people in to be active within the district and with our section specifically. So I know free time is a rare commodity, but if you want to be involved with the section, we're happy to have more members be active with us. It kind of took me a while to get to a point in my career where I wanted to start getting involved with the AWS, but I've just been fortunate enough through my career to have some awesome instructors and professionals, and I see it as a way to give back to the community and try and help along the folks who are following after. So um, again, encourage people to sign up. It's free while you're a student, and it's got so many benefits for something that's free. Just takes time.
I believe they have a discounted rate right after you graduate too. There's like a transitional
Yeah, is
discounted
it
rate
like a
for
two
like
or three?
1 or 2 years after you graduate,
Yeah, yeah.
as long as you sign up when you're a student. AI. So this is something that I do use AI for work and stuff, and you can usually tell when something's written with like say ChatGPT or something. Um, Grammar is usually really good, the writing is good, and it um, is a good tool to have. However, um, for these scholarships, we're really just looking for you're not graded on your writing or your vocabulary. We're looking for authenticity and originality. To us, that's more important than great writing. Only you can share your unique experiences, insights, and aspirations in a way that truly reflects you. We want to hear your voice through your writing, and when you use AI, it you kind of lose that a little bit. So I would, it's not forbidden to use it, but I would highly recommend writing it on your own, and that way we can really get to know you through your writing, and your voice will it will come through.
Yep. Through the AWS scholarship application portal, there's three different kind of questions or sections you have to write. We're going to go through each one. So, question one is your personal statement, and just some suggestions on what you could consider writing about. And ideally, you kind of include um, examples of multiple bullet points. You don't want to talk about just your creativity and problem solving. We need to get an understanding of who you are as a person. And so, just some of the things you can discuss are your general background, who you are, where you're coming from. Um, have you demonstrated leadership? You know, that doesn't necessarily have to be just within welding, kind of in life. Are you active in any other clubs, student bodies, things like that? Have you led project groups? I did mention creativity and solving problems. You're going to encounter tons of problems throughout your welding career, and you're going to need to come at them with an open mind and creative approach. Um, we're not out there working single-handedly. We're all working as part of a team. So, both in the personal statement and I'd say in the letters of recommendation, it's good to have mention of are you a personable person? Do you work well with others? Um, as a student, you can view it as a job, right? You have to show up to class on time. You have to be there every time if you want to get ahead to succeed. Um, you're going to have to do the same in your or professional life. So, are you an organized person? Obviously, you're taking multiple courses, and you have to manage life outside of that. So, just consider writing about your organizational skills. Participation in class, campus, and outside organizations like the AWS. We do award some additional weight towards students who are participating in the AWS, specifically our section. And I had mentioned this as well. Why do you want to pursue welding? I got into it coming out of the IT world because I wanted to work with my hands and do tangible work. So tell us, why are you wanting to pursue this? And then just a quick comment here, and this goes back to what Steve Pollard said earlier. You've got between 50 and 500 words to write this first personal statement. We're not going to do a word count on this, but it's going to be evident if you're taking the time to write out a well thought out answer that describes who you are versus a couple quick sentences, right? So again, take the time to write out a well thought out, meaningful statement.
Second question for the personal statement. Do you have or any work or other experience related to welding or allied technologies? If you're just out of high school and you're going to welding school, you might not have a lot of experience to work experience to talk about, but even working, with if you've got a welding story, maybe you worked with your dad in a garage and you were welding something on a car, the body panels of a car or something, anything that's like welding related that you did outside of school, something that kind of shows that you have that passion. That's what we want to hear about. I mean, if you haven't enrolled in school yet, there are ways to get into the welding industry without having a degree. I actually got into the welding industry before I went to school. I was a helper at a Machinist Inc. Um, and that's how I got my exposure to welding. So this was always really easy for me because I was working in a weld shop, and even though I wasn't a welder, I was around it all the time. So I could talk about the different jobs we did and how I helped out and what I was doing to kind of just move these jobs along and what I was learning when I was in the shop. So you don't have to have a degree to get into the industry, but if you don't have the experience, just tell us about like a welding story or something that involved welding that you were involved with.
Let me add something here.
Hmm.
This is one of the questions that I don't like in the grading system, but it is what it is. And when I was trying to get into, after I was graduating school, I was able to say, I don't know how to weld, but I can weld, but I don't know how. I can varnish. I can sand and paint yachts. I can carve wood. I have the manual skills that a welder needs. I need you to teach me to weld.
So you say any
And
work experience or craftsmanship.
if you understand, if you don't have any welding work experience, you can still write a note that says, I can do this and I want to do this.
All right, and then the third question, what are your career objectives? So again, you're starting out as a student, you got the whole wide open world before you. It's important to be thinking about the future. And like I said, plans change. But right now, where you're at in your education or professional career, what are you hoping to achieve? Do you want to go out and uh, work construction gigs, be it structural, be it pipe welding for oil and gas or power industry, get into repair welding of heavy equipment. A lot of people throw out they want to get into underwater welding. I, if you want to go after that, that's your thing. But do you want to get into manufacturing, be a job shop owner? There's a lot of paths you can take with welding. And going beyond that, getting into engineering work, getting into quality work, there's a lot of avenues that you can take outside of just running beads. So we want to hear what your plans are to stay within the welding industry. Wherever that path may take you or wherever may the course change, just tell us what your current plans are.
So this is our rubric. This is how we score the scholarships. I'd say everybody does this a little bit different, but I'll kind of tell you how I do this. The most important thing for me when I'm grading is to be fair to everybody. Um, if I give a two, I want to have that kind of set in stone what that means. So and every year I'll make notes on these, like a number one, I'll write down, exactly what it is. But for the applicant's involvement last year, I looked at my rubrics and I'd give 1 point for each of these. So this is what was mentioned in people's applications. So if they organized an event, welding related, I gave them a point. And these would be cumulative, so they would add up. If they had a poster at FabTech, I'd give them a point. If they're an AWS member, I gave them 2 points. If they attended like an AWS meeting or any kind of AWS event, I would have given them a point for that. If they were a member of a board like or an officer in a club at their school, I'd give them a point for that. If they volunteered, I gave them a point. If it was volunteering related to welding, I would have given them 2 points. Um, and the applicant's involvement with welding competitions. If you have the opportunity to participate in a welding contest, even if you don't think you're the best welder in your class, still do it. It's a great experience. It's a great opportunity. You can put this on your resume later. But when I was grading these, like one and two, like one, I'd say that they really didn't do any welding outside of school. Two, maybe they had just done something outside of school, but not a contest. Um, three and four, that was kind of they had entered the contest, but they didn't really talk about it. Four, they talked about a little more, and then five, if they had told me about the contest and they had placed in it, I would have probably given them 5 points. And how would I rate the applicant's personal statement or biography as it relates to career educational goals? So every year when I applied for scholarships, this was probably the most useful part of the scholarship for me because it forced me to create a roadmap. Where am I going? How am I going to get there? And what are my stepping stones along the way? So I would every year I would think about this. I would write out basically like a 5-year plan. Um, and the way I graded this, so I didn't actually put it down, but I think one and two, you probably didn't have much of a plan. Um, three, you're kind of starting to develop a plan, but it's not like very well. It's very general. So say I want to be a journeyman boilermaker when I graduate, or a journeyman welder when I graduate. I think I had some of those last year. That doesn't really tell me exactly what industry you're getting into. It's not very specific. Four, if you know exactly what you want to do. So say you want to be a Boilermaker when you graduate. I'm just using that as an example. That's one of the welding unions that you can get into. Um, you you could go a little bit above and beyond. So to get a five, if you're actually contacting companies or talking to people and you're starting to think about that, that's how I would have given a five. I don't know that I gave any fives last year, but um, just the more you like take that next step. That's what I'm really looking for when you're making that plan so that when you do graduate, it's just gonna kind of flow, it's gonna come natural. You're gonna go from school to your career and you're gonna be successful. And I think that's a really good thing. Even if it wasn't for a scholarship, I think it's worthwhile to do it.
So, all right, and continuing, the rubric continues on. Um, so, how would we rate the applicant's welding work experience? Um, and again, this kind of goes back to your work experience. You may have no welding work experience, right? I think, a year and a half into my community college education before I got a gig with a buddy's small business, helping him fabricate gymnastics equipment. Just a weird little business running little GMAW welds. You don't have to start out with work experience in welding before you go start your education and try and apply for a scholarship. But again, discuss where you're at in that journey. If you don't have any direct welding work experience, like Steve Pollard mentioned, what are some of the key skills that translate from one craft or job type into welding? Be it mechanical aptitude, problem solving, hand-eye coordination, do you repair electronics? It could be anything really, but consider those traits that are going to translate from your past experiences into the welding world. Next requirement on the rubric: do you demonstrate sufficient interest in welding and pursuing a career in welding? Are you not knocking it, but are you applying for scholarships as an artist who wants to do metalwork as their medium and you're trying to get money, or do you want to actually weld, stay in the field and pursue a fruitful career within welding? We're going to weight those very differently. Obviously, the AWS is a foundation built upon nurturing the welding industry and ensuring its growth and success. So we want to make sure that the students we're awarding money to are going to help continue that growth and success. If you are a veteran or active military, well, I suppose you probably wouldn't be applying for a scholarship if you're active, but anyways, if you're active or a veteran, we do give bonus points to that. Thank you for your service. And then going into the district and section scholarships, what's your status as a permanent resident of our district? District 19 kind of extends from Alaska down to Oregon and out east a little bit. Section scholarships were the Puget Sound Olympic section, so kind of the wet side of Washington State. So that weighs in, we're trying to give local funds to local students to help support the local industry. So that weighs in as well. And then obviously we weight the reference letters. Is it boilerplate, like Steve mentioned? Is it, a copy paste job? Or are you getting some, honest feedback about your character, your pursuit of welding, and the type of person you are and how deserving you are of the scholarship? So reference letters do play an important role in the grading.
Okay, so these are the links, section website. So anything Puget Sound, AWS Puget Sound, we put our meeting announcements on there. This is also where you can go to get our application for the section scholarships. It's at sections.aws.org/Puget Sound Olympic. That's the name of our section. From there, you can email me. There's a link for email. This section email goes right to me. I try to reply promptly, usually by the next day. Or you can just email directly Puget Sound or psolympic@awssections.org. We have a Facebook page, so this is where we'll have pictures from the meetings. We put meeting announcements on there. This is how we're getting publicity to the public. So if you go to facebook.com, AWS Puget Sound is our Facebook page.
I think it's necessary to go beyond our website. There are probably 100 different scholarships available through AWS. And you can apply for any of them, but you kind of have to research them and find them. And they're not hard to find on aws.org. But, and I'll give you an example. Help me out here, Ken, the Skip Kleppen Scholarship. Now, these are the people that started CK Welding, but It's not through our section, it's through national section. And you can find it and you can apply for it, but you got to work at it.
All
I
right.
think it's also a good time to talk about the tools that our local section will help out with.
Yeah.
That's true. Yep. We've done a scholarship in the past. You probably know more about it than I do, Steve, but where we brought a student to like Central Welding or Air Gas and bought them all the equipment that they needed for school.
Yep. So we've got a deal with Central Welding, and we've given two of these scholarships that I'm aware of. I went on the shopping spree of one of them. I think Steve Nielsen went on the shopping spree of the other. Um, and some people go to welding school. Let's put it this way: everybody that goes to welding school needs tools. You need leathers, you need a helmet, you need gloves, you need grinder, you need dikes and wrenches and tip cleaners and all of this kinds of stuff, and it all costs money. And through the Puget Sound Olympic section, we can help you with that. So fill out our application, which is available on the website.
So Puget Sound Olympic, this is our section website. If you come down, click on scholarships, this takes you to our section, Puget Sound section scholarship application. And
Yep.
so we go through eligibility here. There's also links back to the National and District Scholarship info here on the Chuck Daly and Jerry Hope scholarships. These are section and district named scholarships.
Probably
Also,
good to have that as a slide.
yeah, that would be a good one to
You
add.
can add that. Yeah.
But if we click on that, our Puget Sound Olympic Scholarship, here's all the info and instructions for application.
And then I would add that if it's tools you want, tools you need, your welding instructor, the welding school probably has a list of tools that are required to take the class. And in some cases, some schools have a lab fee or something like that. I don't know how all that works necessarily. But if your welding instructor helps put together a list of things you don't have but you need, get that as a note attached to your scholarship application. And then when it comes through the system, whether you go through the section email and ask Ryan specifically about it or however you get it, but you don't need to have your grades. you know, some of the other things that you need to get scholarships if you just need tools.